nerds out there.
The Thomas Bryant jockstrap, get him out of here!
How does that not indicate to you, like, hey, sometimes, like, these prospects are awesome?
Donald, get back! They snatched that chain, boy. Get back! What's all gonna do about it? Popeye snatched that chain. Get back! We want that snack wrap. They got 3 flavors. Y'all got 1. Get back!
Hey everybody, welcome into the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network presented by FanDuel. I'm Ryan Tyler, he's Jack Rourke, he's Nick Padone, he's Rob Watson. Today is a gorgeous Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. Insane to believe tomorrow is already October 1st. We get a look at, technically, quote-unquote, October baseball today. Our Cleveland Guardians take on the Detroit Tigers, game 1 of the wild card round. Chase DeLauter potentially making his major league debut at some point in this series. We'll see if that happens. Guardians have not yet confirmed Chase DeLauter on the playoff roster, but we did see him in the taxi squad. Browns recovering from a blowout in Detroit. Kevin Stefanski leaving the door open for a potential quarterback change. We'll take a look at the IR injury updates, as well as the Browns make a trade for a tackle. All right, guys, it is the day. The Cleveland Guardians, from 15.5 games back, storm to win the AL Central. They get home field advantage against the Detroit Tigers. It all starts today. Tarek Skubal versus Gavin Williams, Stephen Vogt versus AJ Hinch. Jack, I know you are excited right now.
Yeah, dude, I'm so fired up for this. So, I mean, how could you ask for anything more after where this team was just a short, even month ago at this point in time, right, Ryan? Like, the fact that you're back playing playoff baseball 2 years in a row, like, you start to build on something. Like, for as good and consistent as the Guardians have been over the last decade plus since Terry Francona got here really in 2013, we have kind of had that go to the playoffs 1 year, miss the next year thing going on the last couple of years. So it's good to get there twice in a row for the first time since 2016 through 2018. So I'm fired up for this game, man.
Nick?
I mean, how can't you be? It feels like playoff baseball to outside. I'm already driving into Cleveland, seeing people driving into town with, the flags on the side of their cars, with, Cleveland baseball emblems on them. Like, this is awesome. This is what you erase that 15.5 game deficit for. And as the late, great Kobe Bryant would say, job's not finished. You've got to take care of business today. Like, today's game against the Detroit Tigers is so pivotal, because if you could get after Skubal today, man, have you put yourself in a driver's seat to face the Seattle Mariners in the next round. I can't wait until 1 o'clock and playoff baseball back here in Cleveland. There's nothing like it.
And Nick, you just talked about how crucial it is to get that game 1 win, and it's even more so than just a normal facing Tarek Skubal in a game 1. In the wild card round ever, there's been 12 series now since it took over full time, this 3 wild card format in 2022. The team that wins game 1 is 12-0 in those series. There's not been a team to drop game 1 yet and go on to move on to the AL or NLDS. Would it be really funny now if we came back down 15.5 games and then we're the first team ever to lose game 1 and then win the series 2? Get a little double entendre on the Tigers? Yeah, that'd be awesome. But hey, I mean, you have to find a way to get 1 today.
For those that follow the show, Rob, we talked earlier in this season, this was the year where you really started to try to get into baseball. And at that halfway point, we were like, dude, this is the worst year you could have possibly tried to get into the Cleveland Guardians. Come a couple months later, maybe one of the best seasons to get introduced to this Cleveland Guardians team and Stephen Vogt and company.
Yeah, I don't, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I stopped watching for about a month or 2 there. But Jack O'Rourke every day in my ear when he has the chance, and I even entertained talking baseball, was always telling me that there was a good team there, that they had a chance, and that they were always gonna keep fighting. So I always mess around with him for not believing, but he was always talking about him. He kept watching. It was super amazing to watch the games and see them make the comeback, bro. I'm excited to go to a playoff game this week. And they made it entertaining after all in the end somehow.
I love the American League Central. Could we just throw this out there? I know there's going to be a lot of conversations over the next couple of years about collective bargaining and salary cap and salary floor, and all that stuff is going to be good, and it probably will lead to a lockout of some sort. But they're also talking about expansion and 2 expansion teams and how that would shake up the divisions. No, if you're a Cleveland Guardians fan, you should be adamantly against that whole part of the new collective bargaining agreement, because I don't know if I want to call this team AL Central merchants, but it certainly doesn't hurt that you play in the worst division in baseball by a good amount, and you've got an opportunity to flex your muscles against little brother again this week in the Major League Baseball playoffs. If you could take care of Detroit, man, you have separated yourself far and away as the best team in the American League Central really over the whole last decade, and that kind of dominance you don't see very often in sports. So I love this division so much.
Well, it's Cy Young winner Tarek Skubal on the mound for the Detroit Tigers in Game 1. This will be the third time Cleveland faces off against him, I believe, in just the last 2 weeks. Absolutely crazy to think about. Jack, we've gotten the better of him the last couple times, but the law of averages would suggest it's going to be really hard to win again against such an elite pitcher in Tarek Skubal. How do the Guardians get this done?
I don't know. That's my answer for you, Ryan, is I don't know. Like, I think that Cleveland fans kind of have this... They feel like there's this stigma that Tarek Skubal has against us. And yeah, he gave up that grand slam last year in the playoffs. And yeah, he threw the ball between his legs last week. But I don't totally buy into that. I think it would be laughable for me to say that a guy who's thrown 28 innings against us this year and given up 2 runs is like in his head at all about us. Like, he does pretty well against us every single time he goes out there. It's just, can you get to 3 runs? That's what it's going to be. It's whoever hits 2 or 3 runs first day is probably going to win the baseball game. And that's the thing, though, Ryan, that you mentioned. Like when you have a lot of guys who aren't exactly established 85 overall in MLB The Show Major League Baseball players, when you have a guy like Junk who took him deep, that's a confidence play. Austin Hedges actually makes contact against him for some reason. Jose Ramirez is Jose Ramirez. You got him, don't worry. But when your guys are seeing at bats against him consistently, it's a hell of a lot easier than when, say, for example, you faced him in May for the first time in 7 months and he threw under 100 pitches and threw 9 scoreless innings.
You know, Jack, you mentioned the John
There's reps against him,
you mentioned the John Kenzie Noel home run, and I have this fun stat here. Noel, the only active Guardian with a home run against Skubal. Jose Ramirez, clearly the best hitter against Skubal. A 375 average against the Cy Young winner. That's very impressive. And how about this for a stat? Can you guys tell me who is second in batting average against Tarek Skubal on this Cleveland Guardians team?
I don't... How crazy can I get here?
You'd have to get very crazy.
Who's first?
Is it Hedge? Is it Hedge?
It's none other than Austin Hedges.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned him.
Who, the lifetime 185 hitter, 4 for 17 against Tarek Skubal in his career.
He's about
And that's the thing with Hedges, though, is he does, for what he is, and he doesn't always have a great swing, he does take long at bats, and he's very short to the ball. And that's such a big thing against a guy like Skubal, who can come out and throw 99 on a fastball and then dip something off speed on you 88. He is so good with the way he can work that changeup at keeping guys in between on their timing. It's so tough to guess, okay, you sit on that fastball, you got to wait. Oh, you got to catch up to a fastball again. The guys who do have those short, compact swings are going to get on base more often.
All right, well, going for the Guardians against Tarek Skubal is Gavin Williams, who's been tremendous his last few outings. We've been waiting for the Guardians, an ace, to really shine through. And while all the Guardians pitchers have stepped up this month, you saw Tanner Bybee play very well down the stretch. Guys like Slade, who before little recent struggles has been pretty good. Joey Cantillo, Logan Allen, etc. But it's Gavin Williams Stephen Vogt is going for with Game 1. Do you like the decision, and what does Gavin have to do to get this Guardians team a win today?
I love the decision. They interviewed Gavin Williams yesterday after he knew that he was going to be the Game 1 starter. He looked like he was going to cry. He absolutely loves this team. He loves this city, loves guards ball, and he's the pitcher that I trust the most in this spot. In a must-win Game 1, as crazy as that sounds, Skubal on the other side of this, you want your top dog going, and for us, that's Gavin Williams. I know he's had some struggles early in the season with the walks and that whole thing. If you could have that not be an issue today, I mean, you're set up just as good as they are, because when Gavin Williams is on, there's really hardly many pitchers better than him in all of baseball.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me a lot of the 2017 ALDS and how they decided to go with their starting pitchers. By no means is Tanner Bybee Corey Kluber. Let me preface by saying that, but you're established guy who you pay to be your number 1, probably going to get the 2 start in the series, and there's a guy who proved over the last month of the season that he could pitch really well against the team. In this case, it's Gavin Williams. Back then, it was Trevor Bauer. When you see how well Gavin has done against them those last 2 times out, 12 strikeouts in Cleveland just a week ago. I believe he kept him off the scoreboard 2 weeks ago at Comerica Park. It's really hard to argue against him or Bybee right now with how well they've done against the Tigers.
Hey, I want to know, what are we looking at today? Who are you looking at to step up? Because we know we're looking at Jose. Quan, you've talked about, he's been a little disappointing at times, but as the season fades, what are you looking at? Who do you need a good game from today to be able to get a winning this pivotal Game 1? I'm
going to go with the 2 guys up the middle. It's Brian Rocchio and Gabriel Arias, because I think you kind of know what you have, for lack of a better word, with John Kenzie Noel and Jonathan Rodriguez and Austin Hedges. There's 2 of those 3 guys, a blind squirrel can find a nut, knock one out of the ballpark. They got good power. Yeah, they probably will all be starting today. Jose's Jose, Quan's Quan, those guys can do whatever. Angie's great against lefties. What do those 2 guys do? That's the big thing. If you get the Gabriel Arias, who's going to take some pitches, maybe take one opposite field, go with the pitch, put one in a gap, that's one thing. If Brian Rocchio is walking, getting on base, like getting down to 2 strikes, choking up and putting it the other way, like poking it, like then you have an offense. Like then you're starting to flip the lineup over. You're making Tarek Skubal work more. The biggest thing is you're not going to dominate this guy. You're not going to get 6, 7, dang it. You're not going to get 6 or 7 hits off of Tarek Skubal today. You're probably not going to walk a whole lot off him either. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. It's can you take long at bats? Because that's how you get to that point where it's like, okay, this guy's going 6 innings instead of 7 innings. Dang it, because it's so hard in baseball because his pitch count got up, or you worked him a little bit more like Quan did when they were at Comerica 2 weeks ago.
Well, we are not yet privy to the Guardians Wild Card Series roster by the time this airs on TV. Obviously, not only will you see that, but the game will be over. So right now we're operating as it's just a rumor about one Chase DeLauter being on the Guardians Wild Card Series roster. We'll talk about that and more when we get back right here on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody, welcome into the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Pinone, Rob Watson. We're talking about Cleveland Guardians Game 1 of the Wild Card Series versus the Detroit Tigers. Before we dive back into that, I've got to tell you about our great friends over at Fairway Ford. Fairway Ford, Ohio is the biggest Ford truck dealership in the entire state. They have the largest selection of Ford F-150s and Super Duty trucks. And no, I promise they will not be beat on price by any other Ford dealers. Don't let that short drive to Canfield, Ohio prevent you from saving thousands of dollars on your new dream vehicle. Over 500 vehicles in stock on their lot. We had the opportunity to go give them a visit in Canfield, and it was absolutely massive, absolutely beautiful. Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing and same hometown level of service. Scan the QR code now or go give their website a visit, fairwayfordohio.com. fairwayfordohio.com. All right, I mentioned before the break, we are not yet privy to the Guardians Wildcard Series roster, but like Adele said, rumor has it one Chase DeLauter could appear on the Cleveland Guardians playoff roster. We saw that him as well as catcher Dom Nunez were on the club's taxi squad, which means they are eligible to be on the Wildcard Series roster. We thought we might see a Chase DeLauter call-up in July before suffering an injury. Well, now it appears he could be making his major league debut, possibly in one of the biggest spots he possibly could.
Yeah, it looks like he's definitely going to be available, at least, to make his major league debut, as it's moving towards Chase DeLauter is going to be on this playoff roster, and that's good. That makes sense. Chase DeLauter is one of the 4 or 5 best hitters that this organization has to offer, and if you're serious about making noise in the MLB postseason, like the Guardians should be, you've only got 2 games to get that job done. You should have your best foot forward, and we were imploring them all summer long to bring up Chase DeLauter. Better late than never, as the old saying goes. I'd expect to see DeLauter off the bench at some point if Stephen Vogt feels like they need a little bit of a spark plug offensively. He hasn't played a game since July, so that's going to be something to watch for. I don't know that he's going to start this game, but it certainly feels like we will see Chase DeLauter in Cleveland this week, and that should be exciting for Guardians fans because the offense is the one thing that if this team does not get past Detroit, you're probably blaming the offense in a couple of days. Chase DeLauter is one guy that could be an antidote to that.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit more gun shy on the move than most Guardians fans are, and it's nothing against Chase DeLauter. It's for the reason you just said, Nick, that he hasn't played in an organized baseball game that mattered since July, let alone never played in a Major League Baseball game before. But I think it really comes down to who it's at the expense of for me. You know, I've heard some rumors on solid authority. You're probably looking at Logan Allen, Parker Messick, Zach Kent, those kind of guys being the guys who aren't going to make the playoff roster for the first series. Logan Allen pitched on Sunday. He's not going to go at all this week. You can probably say the same about the other 2. Messick just went. Like, if it's not at the expense of Petey Halpin, I love it. But if it is helping, I'm a little bit worried just because if DeLauter's going to play, he's probably going to start against right-handed pitching, I would think, and you're putting him in center field. If that's the case, you go Valera in right, Kafis DHing, and Manzo at first. For a team that, Nick, you just mentioned, a terrible offense. Yes, it is true. You got to add in whatever you can to spark that offense. But at the same time, if you're solely predicated on running the bases hard and fielding well and pitching well to win baseball games, I get a little bit nervous if your center fielder is a guy who doesn't play center field and your center fielder against left-handed pitching, which is Angel Martinez, is a total liability.
What do you know about Dom Nunes?
I think this is people on the internet are getting a little bit confused on what the taxi squad is. Like, this is incredibly normal. Every single time the Guardians go to the playoffs, every single guy who is healthy on the 40-man roster comes to Cleveland as part of the taxi squad. Dom Nunes was part of the taxi squad last year, too. It's not a big deal at all. It's just like if Hedges or Naylor goes down, he's the catcher who would slot in.
All right. Game 1 today, around 1:30, 1-ish, first pitch. Okay. We talked about who you think it needs to be the one to step up. Who could be the wild card for both the Tigers to end the Guardians' playoff hopes, or chances, I should say, to move on, or the X factor for the Cleveland Guardians?
I think because you know this team so well, and you saw it in the playoffs last year. Like, they got a lot of guys that could hurt you with the long ball. Kerry Carpenter ain't going nowhere. Spencer Torkelson's another guy that could certainly turn one around. So I think you know the known commodities for Detroit. And I'm not saying you got to pitch around those guys, but I'm saying when they come to the plate, you've got to be a little bit more cautious. You've got to understand that these are both individuals in Carpenter, Torkelson. There's a couple others as well. Riley Green comes to mind that can turn the game around with one swing of the bat. For Cleveland, I think you need your goats, no pun intended, to kind of step up a little bit. Like, you need Jose Ramirez. You need Steven Kwan. This is major league. Like, you mentioned Chase DeLauter. Like, it's always said that there is just a gigantic gap between major league pitching and minor league pitching. And usually when you see these top prospects come up to the majors, they could struggle at times. There's no bigger gap than Tariq Skubal and AAA pitching. So some of these fringe guys, I don't know how much you're going to get out of them unless you could really get lucky a couple of times. And maybe that's what it takes for this team to advance in the playoffs. They've been lucky all year.
Ball, a couple bunts. You know how it gets, bro. You know what we do. Hey, you don't got to wait for the manager to tell you to bunt, man. Just do it. Come on, Jack.
Nick, I think you made a great point there, too, relating AAA pitching to Major League pitching. And that's a concern I have about Chase DeLauter as well, is how much are you worried about this affecting his mentals and his confidence as a baseball player? Like, there's nothing harder to do than debut and have all the pressure on the world on you like he does right now. Like, this is a really tough spot where if DeLauter comes out and maybe doesn't play well or whatever, like you kind of start to mess with his mentals heading into next year, which worries me. But X Factor, I'm going to go on the Tigers side. I'm going to go with Gleyber Torres because I think if he is going, it really extends that lineup. The Guardians have 3 righties on the mound this series. That neutralizes Spencer Torkelson a little bit. He's better against left-handed pitching. It takes Andy Ibanez and Jahmai Jones, who are 2 really good right-handed hitters, out of it. Like, you're kind of looking, it comes down to Kerry Bonds and Riley Green then, basically. I mean, those are the 2 names you really got to watch for. Obviously, Torque can still knock one out against the righty, don't get me wrong, but you're kind of taking away a lot of their, like, the sidekicks for the Tigers, if that makes sense, by pitching righties.
Inversely, if Chase DeLauter's a hero in this series, I mean, people are going to be constructing the statue.
That is true. That is true as well.
He just pops up out of nowhere and just grand slam.
Our side of it, I'm going to give you a sneaky wild card pick for who's going to make the difference in the series, because he's not even starting a game. But give me Joey Cantillo, because that's what they're doing by starting Slade Ciccone in Game 3. They're getting Kerry Carpenter in the lineup from the start of the game. They're getting him in there from the get. They're going to make him – they don't want Kerry Carpenter in the game. You start a righty so you can flip him out after the first time through the order when Cantillo comes in, and that's how you take out one of their best weapons. I know they're planning on it. They did it last year with Matthew Boyd. Like, I think that'll be a big factor as well. No pun intended.
A big factor.
Well, 1948, the last time the Cleveland Guardians were World Series champions. They look to end the drought, and that all starts today. Game 1 of the Wild Card Series versus the Detroit Tigers. Speaking of Detroit, we got to take a break, but when we get back, the Detroit Lions decimate the Cleveland Browns at Ford Field. Kevin Stefanski not totally committed to Joe Flacco in post-game press conference. We'll see if he left the door open a little bit for a reason. We'll discuss that when we get back right here on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Big Factor on the Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone, Rob Watson. We're flipping gears talking about the Cleveland Browns, but before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends at Garage Beer. Garage Beer comes in just 2 flavors, classic light lager as well as that classic lime. No frills, no bitterness, no IPAs, none of that disgusting IPA taste. It's just beer-flavored beer. Scan the QR code now or go give their website a visit, drinkgaragebeer.com, to find local retailers who sell garage beer near you. Again, that is drinkgaragebeer.com.
The official beer of playoff baseball? Are
Yes,
we
it
coining
is.
it? Are we coining it?
It's definitely, again, I always say this, if you want to do the 999 challenge, for those who don't know it, 9 innings, 9 dogs, 9 beers. Not a better beer to do it than Garage Beer. I'm not telling you to do it, but if you do elect to do it, Garage Beer
Has anyone
is the way to
completed that
go.
without
Oh, most
vomiting?
definitely.
yeah.
People, there are
yeah.
9
There are
dogs.
people that are tanks.
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
not the smartest people
People
of all
are
time.
probably
Rob.
done 18 and
You know, I
9.
bet like Freddie Kitchens probably did
my
one back in the
tummy
day. Got
after that
a
is
hot
gonna
dog
be
stuck up his
just-
ear, run a draw on 3rd and 11.
Yo, that toilet. Ugh.
All right, then. Well, our Cleveland Browns, they dropped to 1-3 after they lose 34-10 in Ford Field against the Detroit Lions. And Kevin Stefanski, rightfully so, asked about the quarterback situation, asked about the Browns' offense. Browns right now averaging just 14 points a game, second worst in the NFL. Quote, "We have to play better as an offense," he said. "We have to coach better on offense. It's not about one person. There are so many things that we need to do better, and obviously quarterback included, but this is not about one person." So he's not committing to Joe Flacco, but he didn't say anything about potentially thrusting in Dylan Gabriel.
I think that this leaves the door widely ajar. I think that a change could come as soon as this week. I really think that you could be looking at Dylan Gabriel in London. Obviously, they, are keeping this kind of close to the chest so they can continue to evaluate this situation and they can change their mind. Like, Stefanski could approach the podium and say, hey, Joe Flacco's our starting quarterback. Wouldn't surprise me. But I definitely think that they understand that a change needs made. I think that they understand that it's time to evaluate what you have. You're not going to the playoffs this year. I wonder if their apprehension to name Gabriel the starter is because of how bad the offensive line has looked, because of how bad and inconsistent the receivers have been. Now you're going to be without Cedric Tillman for multiple weeks. So, I mean, your offense is just like dropping like flies. So I think that's kind of going into what's taking so long to make this decision. And this isn't meant to come across as a shot, but it's meant to review history. This regime has a reputation of giving their backup quarterbacks as little notice as humanly
just about to
possible that
say,
they're
bro.
getting the starting nod. Like, would it surprise you guys at all if we were kind of in the dark with this quarterback thing and we find out Friday or Saturday that it's going to be Gabriel?
That would
I was
be
gonna
the
say,
stupidest thing ever.
I could see just like knowing the Browns and the way they function and the way things work and how they like to release the news cycle when things like this happen, or they're a little bit not embarrassed because they're excited about Dylan Gabriel getting a shot. I could so see it coming 10 seconds after a home run in the playoffs. Could you see that at all? Like during the day, like just sneak it in like during the Guardians game and just try and hope it goes under the radar?
I don't care if they tell us late, but you got to tell the kid. Like, you got to get him ready to play the game. I'm all for saying we got to play him. Like, I've been on that. But give him a fair shot, though. Like, let him know the first practice, go through the whole install, get him prepped to get something ready for him, for it to be simple. You know, they didn't ask Jackson Dart to be Superman, even though he put up 2 touchdowns. But they kept it very simple in New York. Do the same thing with Dylan. I think we're getting close. I'm kind of sick of working myself up about it, but I think whenever Cam Robinson is fully ready to play is when we'll see Dylan Gabriel. I think they're making the moves to improve the O-line a little bit, but obviously they know Joe Flacco no longer it. But they don't want to have him back there behind Levinston and Lucas. They want to probably have Munford and Robinson out there as our tackles.
So the Browns are clearly, there's an element of being afraid that Dylan Gabriel could either just be bad, he could fail, or he's being set up to fail. And while I understand that, especially coming from a Kevin Stefanski lens of, well, if you run through these quarterbacks by week 10, week 11, and you still have a big portion of the season left, and you're like, well, what am I going to throw out there? One, Kevin is probably out the door for a job. Let's be real about it. But why are you so scared to fail when everything to this point has failed offensively? I understand you draft a quarterback in the 3rd round, especially a guy like Dylan Gabriel, a shorter guy who a lot of people didn't have projected to go that high. You're not drafting him expecting him to come be this franchise quarterback. I know a lot of people discussion is, well, maybe he could be a long-term backup. But okay, let's go see him play against the Minnesota Vikings, who, yes, have a good defensive front. And yes, the offensive line for Cleveland is clearly injured and struggling and old. But let's just go see what Dylan Gabriel can do. Are there any parts of that offense that are broken that he can maybe elevate and help relieve some of the issues? Like, at the very least, Dylan Gabriel has a bad game. And then now we're questioning, well, can he start the rest of the season? I don't know the answer to that. But even if he fails a couple games, chalk it up. I guess it is what it is.
I think you're just seeing the overall personality of this regime and why there's a growing part of the fan base that thinks we need a just different personality as the head coach. Because overall, I think they're just really conservative, and you're seeing that with him here too. They're risk adverse in things like this. And to a lot of us, it can't get much worse. And honestly, it can't, because Joe Flacco is dead last and everything. But they're saying, there's still risk at putting in the rookie there and seeing if there's something you could do. And I think that's what a lot of people are getting sick of. They're a team that's always kind of trying to be so risk adverse that they don't fall on their face. But when you play and move like that in this league where everyone else is so aggressive, you're going to fall on your face over and over again. And that's what we've continued to see them do. So until they make the change, we're just going to look stupid. If you put him in and he's bad, you're going to look stupid, but that means you probably shouldn't have traded your other backup vet. That means you shouldn't have reached and took this guy in the 3rd round. You guys want to make the moves like you're the smartest people in the room, but then when they fail, that's when you look bad. But then you're also scared to even put him out on the field to see if you're smart in the first place. It's just backwards in all ways.
The other piece of that whole thing is the fact that they're so focused on the process over the results. Like, they're so focused on, okay, think about that quote in and of itself, process over results.
What does that
They're
mean?
more focused.
We're here to win football games, bro.
But they're not. They're more focused on proving themselves right behind the scenes instead of results that are forward facing. That's what that quote means to me, at least, that you're focused on your process, which is important. I do think there's a place and a time for process across all of the sports, but the thing is, the NFL is a results-oriented business. So if your process isn't eventually leading to results, then it's a broken process. And I think that's where we're at with this regime right now, is they're continuing to tell themselves, like, we're doing all the right things, like, our process is good, it's true, all of this stuff, but it's not, because you're not winning. And, like, you have a good process when you win. Like, Andy Reid and the Chiefs, they have a process. Like, they go through decisions the same way that the Browns do behind the scenes every week. There's difficult plays that have to go into the game plan. There's plays that have to get removed. But their results on the field prove, hey, this process is right. This process is working. We're going to continue to put more energy into this process because we're seeing results. Here, we're like a hamster on a wheel where we're running really hard, but we're not getting anywhere.
Shocker. Every NFL team has a process. We are not special for having one, guys.
This isn't like the same situation as, for instance, a Detroit Lions team. Like, Rob, you said it. You're 7 years into whatever to this Kevin Stefanski regime. This isn't like the Lions. When you hire Dan Campbell the first year, you're taking over a team void of talent and you're looking to build a culture. They don't play well. Okay, well, you're trusting your process with this Dan Campbell guy who's aggressive and is in your face, biting kneecaps. The next year you come out, you start bad again. I get it, a new regime, and then you start to really build games and win games and build momentum. And then look, the last 2 years you're in the playoffs, and a couple years ago you're 1 game away from the Super Bowl. Like, that's when you can be like, okay, yeah, we're trusting the process over the results. When you're 7 years in and you still have the worst offense in the NFL.
That's the problem. We have a process with no progression. That's progression. That's what you just said right there. The Lions, even though that first year under Dan Campbell they were bad, towards the end of the year they got high. I think they won a game or two. They might have won like 3 or 4 games.
I remember. I'll never forget the one game that turned. They prevented the Packers and Aaron Rodgers from going to the playoffs by winning that game.
And then the next year they were like 500, and then the same thing. I don't see any of that here. We give up as each season goes on. By week 8,
the most maddening part is like the talent disparity. Yes. They've built a complete amazing offense in Detroit with a ton of talent, but like it's not that grand chasm of a gap in terms of, especially when you look at our defense. And I understand the offense, you're old, you're expensive, and you really are void of talent to a point. But like you wouldn't think you'd think the Lions are in a completely different league.
I mean, who said it? We've said it multiple times.
Are.
Like the Texans have a bad offense this year. Granted, they have a good player. We have good players. They still find a way. They put up 20 points last week. The Saints are starting Spencer Rattler. I don't even know if Chris Olave is playing, and I think their wide receiver 1 is Brandon Cooks, and they have the corpse of Alvin Kamara in the backfield. And they're putting up over 20 points every week. Like, the only team that it's comparable to is that absolute dumpster fire in Tennessee. So I don't understand how.
By the way, have much more excuses than we do.
Yes, much more excuses, much more. And every week we just come out and talk about the process. Kevin's been telling us he needs to coach better ever since he got here. I'm sick of hearing it. It's time for him to just start coaching better.
All right, we got to take a break. When we get back, we're not done talking about the Browns. They trade for tackle Cam Robinson, and we'll take a look at the injury updates. Cedric Tillman going to be missing a few games. DeAndre Carter heads to the IR. We'll break that all down when we get back right here on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone, Rob Watson. We're continuing our conversation about our Cleveland Browns. Well, news broke yesterday, I should say, on Monday, that they traded for Houston Texans offensive tackle Cam Robinson. They exchanged swap of late-round picks in 2027. This, of course, comes after DeJuan Jones' season-ending injury. Jack Conklin has played 1/4-ish of football this season. He's continually hurt. And backups KT Levison and Cornelius Lucas have both been awful. They rank respectively 57th and 61st out of 66 qualifying tackles in ESPN's pass block win rate. Browns offensive line as a whole ranks 10th in run block win rate, not bad, but 27th in pass block win rate. A much needed move for the Cleveland Browns to go out and get a guy. Cam Robinson, a former second-round pick, was formerly with Jacksonville. He plays for the Houston Texans this season on a one-year deal. They don't really need him. He started because of injury. Now everybody's back. They look to move him and get a late-round swap of picks. Browns a much needed move to try and get this offensive line at least. I don't even want to say fixed, because this certainly isn't going to fix. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, but I guess it's better than leaving it completely
Another
open.
shot in the dark. It's what we've been doing recently, because the same thing with the Munford guy. I think he might have been a first-round pick. You know, we're picking up retreads. We're hoping something sticks, but I mean, Corn Lucas has been absolutely terrible.
Corn Lucas.
We talked about him in the offseason as a good pickup. He's been awful. Like, he looks like his back and knees and feet hurt every time he's blocking. KT Levison's been okay in the run game. I think they could start to work him in the heavy sets that we hopefully continue to use, where he's like the eligible tackle, and then hopefully the new two tackles we picked up, and then you could put Huntington in the backfield and just pray that Quinshon Judkins can carry the whole team for 8 yards or something. But it's enough of Levinston as a starting tackle, and it's definitely enough of Corn Lucas out there at right tackle.
Nick, thoughts?
I mean,
He's bad, bro.
yeah, it's as bad as it can be, and it. To play devil's advocate, now, you know, we all just kind of campaigned like this season doesn't matter. You might as well play Dylan Gabriel and see what you've got. The one thing that Kevin has in his back pocket is that this offense is a nightmare. Like, what were they thinking this offseason? They had
Imagine if you didn't have Joel.
They had no backup plan for this entire
been-
offense.
Is Zach Zinter a can?
It would have
Yeah,
been Luke Whippler
evidently.
bumping over the guard if Joel Bitonio wasn't up to play. man.
Like
Would've
they
been
had no
Jenkins?
contingency
Tevin
plan
Jenkins?
for the
Is he
offensive
alive?
line.
Is he healthy?
Yeah, Tevin Jenkins.
I'm
is
saying
healthy.
theoretically in the offseason, it would have been
Can he
Jenkins would
play
have been the left
tackle?
guard.
Why does he never play?
I think he's a guard who has played tackle once or twice
My
in his
bad,
career.
Continue.
I mean, there's not much to continue on. Like they'll insert Cam Robinson whenever he's ready. I don't know that that's even going to be this week,
It's
but I
not,
do
no
think
chance.
I do think you ultimately make that Cam Robinson move because you are moving under the guise that you're going to play Dylan Gabriel at some point here soon. Like if they were going to continue to just have Joe Flacco be the meat shield for this season, you're going to eat a bunch of losses with Joe Flacco at quarterback. They probably wouldn't have made a move like this, but they're going to evaluate this kid for hell or high water. I got to be honest with you guys. Like, I think it could be a bit better with Dylan Gabriel out there because he's at least a little bit more mobile. But I really don't expect much to change if they put him in there. Like, here's the thing. I don't think he's as accurate as Flacco. I don't think he's able to climb the pocket the way that Flacco does. I don't know that he could survive. Flacco got hit 12 times against the Detroit Lions. I don't know that, like, physically, just speaking physically, and again, this is not a slight at Dylan Gabriel. This is just dealing with facts. There are not many sub 6 foot quarterbacks in the league. The ones that are, and the ones that have had success are either wildly cerebral like Drew Brees, and we haven't seen him play football in a decade, or wildly athletic like Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. Okay, they say Gabriel's cerebral. That's good because he certainly ain't Kyler Murray. So I am a little bit worried that he could go out there and just get crunched, and he's not 6'5", 250 like Flacco, and he's not going to be able to stand back there and just eat the hit, take the hits.
I don't think Flacco's honestly been that accurate this season. I mean, he's been okay. It's been real hit or miss. I think Dylan will probably keep it about the same there. I agree that him being able to move the pocket might not help that much. This O-line is really bad. But we also willingly chose to keep Hutchinson one-on-one with Corn Lucas last week. So, I mean, that is why Joe Flacco got hit 58 times. So, that's Kevin might have been trying to get him killed. I don't know what he was doing there. But, I mean, I've seen Dylan looked okay in the preseason football, but he seemed to have good pocket presence, is willing to throw the ball. I kind of just want to see if he could have an EPA over whatever Flacco's is. It might be 4 yards. If you could get that to like 7 yards, I'll take it, 7-8 yards. But I think they'll really just start to really lean on running the ball. Like we'll see like 25, 30 Judkins touches, and then we'll play off of that, and we'll see if Dylan can just manage the game. But the different element will just make it work a little bit. Like he won't slide behind the line. Dude, on the bootleg, he'll at least be able to create some space.
Like you saw in 2023, play action, roll out, bootleg, and Joe Flacco was delivering some darts. It doesn't even look like he can even move that well anymore, and it hasn't been that long since 2023. Like, I'm just starving for some essence of mobility. Like, I understand Dylan Gabriel, the shortness is an issue.
Well, he may
if we're not blocking for him, yes, that's an issue, but just give the defense something to where they have to at least worry a little bit about the quarterback moving around. Like, I watch guys, and I'm not making any comparisons, but just guys that aren't known for their running. Like Jordan Love with some tremendous scrambles this season so far. Baker Mayfield with some outstanding scrambles this season. Like, just that little bit of element where the defense just can't just keep their ears pinned back the whole time.
Yeah, you can't just be...
That'll negate the run, because they're flying upfield.
It's an immovable object, quite literally.
And Nick, we talked
unstoppable force.
We talked about this, like, you texted yesterday, like, both these teams stink, talking about the Jets and the Dolphins. And I said, well, listen, yes, they stink, but why are they capable of scoring 21 points? Because you see like a 45-yard scramble touchdown from Justin Fields. Now,
that's not killed them on rollouts.
That's not a recipe to win games in the National Football League unless you're a guy that consistently can do that and you game plan for that like Lamar Jackson. But it's just the fact that you have something where the defense can't necessarily see it coming and game plan for it. The defense for the Cleveland Browns and Joe Flacco, it's like they have their plays. Seriously, like, because they are just so locked in, they don't have to worry about Joe Flacco at all. He slides behind the line of scrimmage on a 3rd and 2, guys.
Because
it broke me. After I saw that, I said I've had enough.
It's serious because, like, if you're a D end and you could just run around, like, if you don't have to worry about respecting the inside in case the quarterback's going to step up and run for 5 yards. Like,
imagine a guy moving in the pocket outside with Harold Fannin. Like, that's a recipe to win games.
That's what we need. I watched Tua deliver some nice intermediate. They kept it simple. Tua looked solid last night just on play action rollouts. Just roll it out to the left. I think Gabriel has shown he could throw over the middle with timing. He's shown he could hit out routes. I'm not expecting him to throw us 50-yard bombs all of a sudden, but if you can game plan correctly and Judkins can get you that 90 to 100 yards on the ground and then you play off of that, with Jamari Thrash, who he showed he had some good chemistry with in the preseason, now probably having to play a prominent role. Maybe they get that going. It could be something solid. I just want to see us finally get to 20 points, man. I can't see us score 10 again.
He could be bad, but the guy played 9,000 years in college. Like, he's seen so many defenses. Maybe it can translate to the NFL. Just try it. That's all I got.
I want to have a reason to watch the game. I just pull up and I'm just like, bro, like, I know how this is going to go.
All right, go ahead, Nick.
I'm not going to break any news here, but I do think it's as simple as young quarterback, short quarterback, physically limited quarterback. Get the ball out of his hands quick, especially out with a bad offensive line. Get the ball out of his hand quick, and he will look better than what you currently have.
Yes, it's not hard to go up from here. All right, we got to take a break. When we get back, college football week 5 in the books. Wow, what a slate. We got to talk about those games, and we'll do our FanDuel parlay of the day, and we'll wrap up here on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Factor in the Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone, Rob Watson. Let's talk about some competent football teams, guys. College football. Got to blurb that out. College football week 5 in the books. We started here. Ohio State. They beat Washington 24-6. They end the Huskies' 22-game home win streak in Husky Stadium. Guys, this defense continues to be the story of college football. What Matt Patricia has done with this unit is nothing short of tremendous. Arvell Reese is turning into a superstar. Caleb Downs is absolutely tremendous. He'll be a first-round pick. And then you just have a litany of talent. Julian Sain continues to do enough. Second half, you finally saw them open up the playbook a little bit. Bo Jackson getting it done on the ground, guys.
Oh, no.
This defense, it's nearly impossible to score on, it seems like.
Arvell Reese, best linebacker in the country. Like, through 4 games, there's very little debating that. Like, he's making himself a ton of money in this Ohio State season thus far. This defense is holding opponents to, like, less than 6 points a game. That's a recipe for success. That's a recipe for defending a national championship. We had Ari Wasserman on Big Play Cleveland yesterday, covers college football for On 3, and he was saying, like, the fact that Ohio State can win a 14-7 ball game, or they could win a 40-37 ball game, shows you how dangerous they actually are. And when you look at this schedule, like, especially because Illinois has shown that they're not world beaters, Penn State certainly got exposed against Oregon. Like, you peek at Ohio State's schedule, and it's dangerous to do in college football where anything could happen any given Saturday, and you certainly see a path for the Buckeyes to run the table and keep this number 1 ranking the entire way and ultimately get back into the playoffs as the number 1 team in the nation and have a voyage to defend the championship. Like, how nuts would that be if it was just a perfect title defense?
You got to mention the pass rush, too. I mean, Caden McDonald and Caden Curry have been going crazy off the edges. Like, they've looked at, so far this year, they've looked like Jack Sawyer and Tuamaloau, possibly better. Like, they've been absolutely wrecking games. And then you got, like you said, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, who are the most athletic linebackers I've ever seen, who are just sideline to sideline quarterbacks who want to run. They just can't get away from them. And then Igba Newsome and Downs in the secondary, along with I forgot his name, but he had a pick the first week. Like, it's a stacked defense, and the offense is still yet to all the way let it loose. And I mean, when Sayin gets all the way comfortable, it's gonna get ugly. But Bo Jackson's like a super tough, right? He looks like Judkins the way he'll get it, and he'll just those 2-yard runs turn into 5. Where there's 4, that he gets 8. Like, it's a great team, and I don't know who's going to be the team to really give them that run for their money. You might have to wait because, Michigan will be tough, but they haven't looked the best this year. Or, eyeing that Big Ten championship game. If Oregon makes it all the way, it's gonna be some good matches. But I think the Buckeyes are just overwhelming teams this year.
All right, let's stick in the Big Ten, guys. This was probably the best game of the week. Oregon, they beat Penn State 30-24. Death taxes and James Franco losing big games. It's now still been since 2016 that the Penn State Nittany Lions under James Franklin have won a regular season game against a top 10 opponent. And, a lot of those games were different because they weren't the favorite. They weren't the higher ranked team. But this one, they were at home. They were the higher ranked team, and they were the favorite, according to the spread, to win this game. Dante Moore, front runner for the Heisman. I think he's got it locked, barring something unforeseen happening because of John Mateer's injury. Drew Aller continues to not perform tremendous in big games.
Are we all off of this forever now? Drew Aller is a quarterback.
Because I've covered the NFL and the NFL draft for too many years. Somebody's going to take him in the first round. Like,
I'm saying in Cleveland, though. In Cleveland, are we off of him as our quarterback? Can we put that to bed now? He's not good. He's not going to be it. It's a project.
November 1. He's got a big date 30 days away.
When we play,
he is going to throw interceptions.
I'm nowhere
nearly
near to close out on Drew Aller.
No, me neither, man. I haven't seen a semblance of a franchise quarterback since Baker Mayfield left town.
But here's the thing: it's like when I watch,
I'm not closing the door on anyone.
He's like Josh Allen, where it'll like
right when I watch Drew Aller. Now that's the thing. It's like I'm not out on Drew Aller. Am I out on the Browns to develop him? Yes.
Yeah, like that's
too different, right? Because you see the talent there, the arm strength, and you throw downfield. Like, he's got such a strong arm. It's more of the fixable little things, I think. The mechanics, if you want to say that. All right, let's move on. Gosh, there were so many good games this week.
Feed me him.
All right, we do this one. Ole Miss, they get the win against LSU 24-19. A very wacky game. Obviously, the headlines going into that Landry Kiffin, David Witt weeks. Jack, congratulations.
Tempo.
Brian Kelly loses another big game.
Yes, he does. Brian Kelly, 5-9 in ranked games at LSU. That buyout is only $62 million. 5-9 in ranked games. Still does not have a playoff win. Wow, let's go, Brian Kelly. He should be in jail.
All right.
Nussmeier not looking that good in that game either.
No, he is not. All right, last one we'll talk about is Alabama, Georgia. I gotta admit.
Nick, we called it on. We called
I gotta give Alabama and Kalen DeBoer a ton of credit.
Kirby
First
fraud?
team to beat Georgia in Athens in nearly a decade. Absolutely crazy to think about. They break their longest home winning streak. I think it was 26
Kirby a
games.
fraud,
Might have been longer
bro.
than that. But for Alabama to rebound from that loss at Florida State to where the team looked completely lethargic, they didn't look like a typical Alabama team playing with effort, to go into Georgia. Ty Simpson the last few weeks has looked absolutely tremendous.
Devil went down to
Caden
Georgia.
Proctor's catching
They called
screen
me a
passes.
madman.
Absolutely massive for Kalen DeBoer to overcome that and beat Kirby Smart. You know, SEC right now, SEC championship, really up for grabs.
There's got to be the discussion with Kirby is gonna have to come soon. I don't know how he keeps dropping these games. to
Alabama's
Bama.
a thorn in his side.
Dude,
Always has been.
he's perfect outside of that, but it's
Kind of the
just
same
those-
conversation we've had up here for the last 4 years.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
seriously, like you're not mistaken. If Georgia, obviously, no kidding. If they didn't have the Natties, well, who would it be? But
Yeah.
no kidding. If Ryan Day didn't, he'd probably be out of here. All right, we got to take a break. When we get
Visor
back, we're
merchants.
wrapping up the show. We're doing our FanDuel parlay of the day, and we're wrapping up the show. We'll be right back on the Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Pannone, Rob Watson. We're wrapping up. Before we do that, we got to present our FanDuel parlay of the day. Nick, you want to tell everybody about FanDuel?
FanDuel's got an offer for you, and you don't want to miss it this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5. Get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. If it wins, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You could build parlays like we do every day. You could bet on player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is finally here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to download the FanDuel app today and get started. You got to be 21 plus and present in Ohio. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit is required. The bonuses are issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions do apply. See full terms. Sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG.
All right, due to the Cleveland Guardians playing at 1 o'clock, we are not including them in the parlay, but it's still all Major League Baseball playoffs. Jack, why don't you take us home?
Yeah, let's go ahead here and do it. We're starting out with Tito and his boys heading out to Tinseltown, where Shohei Ohtani is going to get that RBI tonight. The premier player in the sport under the bright lights. What else could you expect? Rob, you know what he's going with. He's taking that Nerfy in Reds Dodgers with Hunter Green on the bump, throwing triple digits. Then we're heading down to the greatest rivalry in all of baseball. The Red Sox heading into the Bronx to take on the Yankees. We're going to crochet a little bit today. Not too much because we're going under 7.5 Ks, but we're going to crochet just enough for the Red Sox to go on the road and take one from the Yankees with their money line. Ohtani RBI, Nerfy in Reds Dodgers, Red Sox money line, Garrett Crochet under 7.5 Ks. Book it.
Alrighty, appreciate everybody tuning into the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. Shout out Garage Beer, shout out Fairway Ford.
Shout out the guards.
Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, same people, same time. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day. Go Guardians, go Buckeyes, go Browns, go Bearcats. Had to slip that in there. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see you then.